Yes.
Okay, thank you. And like Greg said, really appreciate you taking the time to listen in on this. I hope we get some good questions at the end, and this is helpful information for everybody. So we'll start kind of just a brief agenda. I'm going to do some brief introductions. I'm going to give you some background on how we got to this program. Then I'll talk about the program. I'm going to share some benefits that this program can provide. We do have some frequently asked questions, so hopefully maybe some of those will touch on some of the questions you might have at the end, but we will have time at the end for some more questions if there are any. Okay, so for the introduction, so I'm Jasmine Donlinger. I am the Highway Chemical Test Manager at the Nebraska Department of Transportation. I've been doing this almost 18 years now. In January, it'll be 18 years. And then I also help out on the Clear Roads Pooled Fund. And I'm on a couple of subcommittees, the Clear Roads Qualified Products List, which I'm going to touch on because that ties into this webinar. And then the Product Proficiency Sample Program, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then I've also sat on some research projects associated with Clear Roads. And I've been kind of helping out for about 5 years through Clear Roads. And then we've also got with us a couple individuals, a couple representatives from AASHTO Resource. We have John Molesky, who's the program director, and Ryan LeQuay, who's the laboratory and testing manager. And they're also on here. So, if there's any questions that maybe they could help elaborate or answer at the end, they're here to help as well. So Clear Roads is going to be partnering with AASHTO Resource on this effort. So any of you that aren't aware that are not Clear Roads involved, this is a pooled fund that was started in 2004. We currently have 39 member agencies. And a big effort is they fund research projects on innovations, training, and materials to save agencies money, improve safety, and increase efficiency. So this program that we're talking about ties into that effort through Clear Roads. And then for AASHTO Resource, from their website, they provide services that ensure integrity of materials. So that's why we want to partner with AASHTO, is they do a really good job at taking care of those samples, that material. And then they help with evaluating testing competency and instill confidence in laboratories. And I want you to really, in the back of your mind, keep that word confidence there, because this is kind of where that program really fits. So just a little more information on the qualified products list through Clear Roads. This is our subcommittee members on there. And we do a few different things on our committee. One is we evaluate and establish specifications for products used in winter maintenance. So on our Clear Roads website, we have a guidance document that provides specification requirements for all different types of deicers, liquids, solids, additives, a lot of different types. And then we also review, test, and approve products used for winter maintenance. So if a manufacturer has come up with the next greatest product, they submit all that information to our committee. We review it. We do follow-up testing. And if everything meets the requirements, they go on this list, which I know it's kind of maybe small on your screen, but that's just a screenshot of part of our qualified products list. I'll call it probably the QPL from here on out. We have 14 different categories plus 4 additive categories and 2 experimental categories. And so we've got a lot of products on this list, and we're routinely always evaluating new ones. However, what our subcommittee does not do is we do not provide continued quality assurance on these products. So once these products are on the Clear Roads QPL, there is an expiration date. So a company still should monitor and make sure, as long as their manufacturing practices remain the same, they can continue to stay on the list, but we don't do any kind of follow-up testing on that. So we rely on those entities that purchase these products and their quality assurance programs And whatever that might be. It might be in-house, it might be an independent lab, whatever it is, but that's kind of how we rely on that continuous monitoring of the product quality. So since we kind of have a gap there, we started thinking about a proficiency sample program. So there's lots of these programs for all other different types of materials, but we don't have one for these winter maintenance products. Okay. So in the spring of 2020, this program was proposed, and here's our subcommittee members on there. And we do have Ryan and John kind of as part of our team for this effort. And it was decided that we would have 2 solid samples and 2 liquid samples. And this is where Ryan and John would acquire the solid and the liquid, and their part would be partitioning these out so that equivalent samples are sent to every participating lab. Okay. Then these labs will perform a list of tests, and they will then get a report back. And I know it's really tiny. It's okay. You can't see it. This is just kind of an example for one test. So the lab data there shows this test, we submitted a value of 214. The average was 217.1. Now, based on the standard deviation, there's an equation that's used to calculate this z-score, and that gives you a rating. Okay. The negative just means that our value was less than the average. Okay. It's still a good rating. So if you get a rating of anywhere between 3 and 5, you're within 2 standard deviations. Okay. Or you have a z-score that equivalents to that. So as long as you get a score of 3 to 5, you're good. You're showing good, consistent results. If you get a value that's lower, that would indicate that, maybe there's a corrective action that needs to be considered in your laboratory, whether it's equipment based, whether it's training based, but it gives your lab an idea of how you're performing your testing. Okay, so the list of tests that we came up with for liquids was specific gravity, pH, settable solids, solids passing number 10 sieve, and corrosion. And then solids was chloride content, gradation, moisture content, and insoluble materials content. So we did a pilot last winter, and we had 4 labs that participated. And we're hoping, the plan is to launch this coming winter on a full scale. Now, the pilot results, I'll kind of just briefly show you how helpful this should show how helpful this program can be for a laboratory. So again, really small, it's okay. What I want you to see here though is that first kind of gray and white column, those are the tests. Then your different colored columns are the different laboratories that participated in their test results. So kind of a closer look here at specific gravity and pH for one of the labs. Now, I don't know what lab it was. I know Nebraska was lab 4, and that's really all I can share. But what's interesting and what I want to point out is with the specific gravity, labs 1, 2, and 4 all had a very similar value. And then lab 3 was completely different. Okay. Same with the pH. Labs 1, 2, and 4 were all very similar. And then lab 3 was not even close to that. And so, if my lab was lab 3, this would give me an opportunity to go back and look, did I not follow the procedure right? Was there a typo when I entered some information? Is my pH electrode old? This kind of gives a lab a cue that maybe something's not working the way it's supposed to be working. And then another example for the solid, this was lab 1. The gradations were quite a bit lower for some of these sieves than the other laboratories. This could be a possibility of maybe the sieve set that they were using is old and worn out, and it's not performing, the way it should be. So our current enrollment right now, we have 6 DOTs signed up, and we have 2 suppliers. So these are the manufacturers. So this is a group effort. This is not just for DOTs. This is for any lab that is going to be doing any kind of testing. Right now, we don't have any third-party labs. So, if you're utilizing a third-party lab, if you are a third-party lab and you're doing testing, this can benefit you as well. So when we talked with John and Ryan, they shared that 17 is kind of our magic number. We need a minimum of 17 labs to participate to get good statistics out of this that will be helpful for everybody participating. And right now, from the enrollment, we're at 8. So we have a little ways to go. And that's why I'm hoping after this webinar, we can get more of you involved. Okay, so the benefits. So if you're a state DOT and you have some sort of quality assurance program, if you're a manufacturer and you've got a quality control program, basically any program where you're doing any kind of testing. So in-house, third-party vendor, if you're relying on the QPL, which as I mentioned before, we do that initial testing, but we don't do any follow-up testing. Any of these programs, you're going to be relying on somebody's test results, okay? And that's kind of where, I'll tie in it and I'll mention it again, is that you want that confidence in your test results. And a program like this can help you with that. So the direct benefits, again, confidence in your test results. So, do you need to figure out if there's any equipment or procedural concerns in your testing? You can use this as a training tool. So what your ratings are. If you have a new employee, you can have them, do the testing again to see if they're getting those results. It can possibly help reconcile disputes. I don't know if anyone's sitting there thinking that they've maybe had a dispute with, say their manufacturer or their vendor or, something like that. Well, if you're doing this type of program, you can show, well, our ratings, we're getting really good ratings for our gradation. So, we have confidence that our test results are correct. If you're doing any kind of research testing, I mean, my laboratory sometimes does research, and so if we're relying on test results to make further decisions, we want to have confidence in those. It can provide confidence in your product quality. So Nebraska, in the last year, we spent about $9 million on our solids and $4.7 million on our liquids, and we implement pay factors. So if a product does not meet specification requirements, we implement those. And so, we want to have confidence that, our test results are correct and therefore it's reflecting our product quality. Then the indirect benefits, this is really going to help the Clear Roads QPL. As I said at the beginning, we don't do follow-up quality assurance on any of these products. And so by having labs participating in this is going to help us and support us. And it'll improve the quality of de-icing products. So, like I said, with research, or if it's a manufacturer, whoever that is wants to know that the test results they're getting out is accurate, it's correct, to make those improvements or new products even. So here's some of the frequently asked questions that I've gotten talking to others. Number 1, cost. If you are an AASHTO member, the cost to you is nothing. It's already part of your AASHTO dues, okay? If you're a non-AASHTO member, say you're an independent lab or you're a manufacturer, it's going to be approximately $300 a year. So low cost. This. I've gotten a question from multiple states that say, well, we only test gradation. Can we still participate? Okay, so say you only do pH or you only do specific gravity. Yes, you can still participate. You do not have to do all the tests listed. In Nebraska, we do some cement proficiency sample program. There's a test that we don't, there's a couple actually that we don't do. So we just leave that blank. Okay, you're not going to be penalized. It's no big deal. So yes, you can still participate. You can still get benefits from this. Our state doesn't test liquids. Can we still participate? Yes. You do not have to test both liquids and solids. Now, John and Ryan will probably maybe still send you the liquids, but you know, it's okay. I guess you just get some free de-icer. But yes, you can still participate. Our state only performs testing when there's a quality concern. Should we still participate? Yes, because if you're concerned about the quality of the product, then you want to make sure you're having confidence in those test results. So yes, this would still benefit you. I'm busy. We're all busy. How much time is this going to take up for us? Okay. So, you know, I spoke with my staff and we kind of came up with, because since we're sending 2 samples of solid and 2 of liquid, we came up with active test time approximations for each one of these tests if you're going to do 2 samples. And again, this is approximate. Your lab might be faster or slower. And this is active, like hands-on test time. For instance, the settable solids test that sits in a freezer for 7 days, we're not going to put 7 days because it's just sitting there. We're not actively testing it. So, you know, if your lab, say you're only going to do specific gravity and pH, we're talking 15 minutes, 1 time a year. That's the commitment that you would agree to. If you're going to do all 8, great. That's going to be a little over 3 hours on an annual basis. The timeline, what's the timeline? Our registration enrollment deadline, I believe, is November 15th. It's sometime here in November. December, they're going to package and deliver the products. And then in February, you would have a data submission deadline. So it's going to give you a good couple months to do these tests and fit them into your schedule. And then by April, you'll likely have a ratings report. So I guess the big action items here that we're hoping to communicate to you is if you're an AASHTO member, please get enrolled. And if you're not an AASHTO member, please register with AASHTO Resource and then get enrolled. And that is my presentation with all of our contact information. And I will take questions.
So Jasmine, I was just taking a second to unmute myself. I take it you can't see the chat box?
I cannot. I'm sorry, I cannot.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure. So I'll go ahead and there are some messages in there. I'll go ahead and read them off to you. And then
Great.
if, you know, if folks need to jump on and clarify what I've read out, please don't hesitate to do so. Okay, so we have Vicky Stewart said, do you use ASTM specs and are you part of the PEA, formerly the NTPEP program for product evaluations? Will this be part of AASHTO's resource proficiency program?
Okay, so some of these test methods are ASTM. They're listed in our guidance document on the ClearRoads website. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure on pH is ASTM, specific gravity is ASTM. The corrosion and settable solids, those are actually ClearRoads test methods. Gradation is ASTM. Same with, I think, and then I think chloride content, insoluble and moisture is all ASTM. So most of them, yes. As far as the net PEP part of that, I honestly don't know. I don't know if John or Ryan know more about that than me.
Sure. So
yeah, I can jump in.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, John's a little more qualified for that one. So go ahead, John.
Okay. So at this point, the product evaluation audit program does not have anything for winter highway maintenance products. So it is a completely different program within AASHTO. That technical service program more so relies on, you know, product evaluation of manufactured products as well as other testing data that falls under their data mine scheme. If there's anyone else on here who can chime into that, but it is a completely separate program and a separate technical entity within AASHTO.
Thank you. Does that answer? Whoever did that answer the question? I don't know if you can get a response.
It seems to me it did, and if Vicki wants to jump in
Okay.
with any additional, yeah,
Okay.
response, it's fine.
Okay.
All right, the next one on the list is from Kelly Sanger. It looks like they reported weight per gallon and not density. A conversion factor would need to be used to convert to the proper units.
And
More of a
that's
comment
what we assumed, you know, but sometimes you know what happens when we assume. So I mean, the point of it was to for that pilot was to just kind of see how everything worked out. You know, was the packaging good? Were the instructions clear? And then evaluating the data, you know, it illustrated, I thought, very well of what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, Kelly, feel free to jump in here if you have anything else to add.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wes Spivey said, and if I mispronounce anybody's names, I apologize in advance. As time permits, can you show the slide with TSP testing requirements, solids and liquids, or the table? And then John, it looks like John, you did provide an image in the chat box there too. So
Is that the one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Wes, did you get what you needed out of that one? Wes also asked if do you register on AASHTO's resource website, and then John also provided a link to laboratory registration. So I think that's
Thank you, John.
Yep, and I got a thumbs up from Wes, so that's good. So, Christopher Liebrock, I might have missed it. Is this a one sample a year program, or will it be multiple?
So it will be the way the packaging we were kind of deciding it would look like is you would get one box and there would be 2 liquid samples and 2 solid samples, and that would come one time a year.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't multiple samples every 6 months or something.
No, nope. Thank you for that
Just
question.
once a year. All right,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and then the next one here is from Vicki again. She said, for solid samples, do you test for anti-caking?
So the anti-caking, it's a cyanide compound, and that is a component when we're evaluating products to go on the QPL. That is one of the criteria, because there's a lot more testing that's in our guidance document for these products than what you're seeing right here. But we sent out a part of when we were initially getting going, we were discussing, well, what tests should we, do for this program? We did send out a little mini survey of people we know are doing testing to see how many labs were actually doing that. Because to get that, like I said, and John and Ryan had explained, to get good statistics, we need to have multiple labs doing this testing. And if there's only a handful that's going to be doing that, it's probably not going to be helpful. So that's why we don't have some of those tests on there, and the cyanide and the anti-caking is one of them. So I guess the short answer is no. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, Jasmine, just to interject too, this is one of those situations where, as she mentioned, we are basing all this off of a survey that we sent out. So,
right.
If there are things that change and this group sees a need to add a test or remove a test, we are more than willing to do that. So at any time, we can kind of move that into this next year of testing. It's just going to be based off of your recommendation and what all of you want and how you want to implement the program.
Thank you.
Chris, oh geez. Chad, yes, you had your hand raised and there it goes again. Thank you.
Yeah, how many labs are you expecting to jump in on this? You said you've got 6 now.
We have 8 right now. I've had nibbles from a couple other ones that hopefully are here on the webinar, but we really need to get to that 17. And I guess, like, you know, my question may be back to anybody on the call that's not registered or enrolled yet. If you could let us know what is holding you back from getting registered, that could be really helpful, because there's been a lot of I don't want to say confusion, but misinterpretation, I think maybe could be a better word, on what this program is and what it can do for any laboratory. So yeah, please, you know, if you're thinking, I don't think I need to do this, or please let us know what's holding you back so we can maybe try and address that.
Thank you.
Jasmine, I would recommend you put the contact information slide back up again,
Oh, yes.
so that if they do have any questions about what, or want to tell you what's holding them back, they can.
Yes.
Because it would be any 3 of you, right? That
Yes.
they could reach out to on that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And Vicky also had a question saying, can you participate and test 1 sample a year instead of 2 per year?
That might be a question for Ryan. I guess when you're saying 1, you're saying, like, so we get 2 of solids and 2 of liquids. So say you don't test the liquids at all, you only test solid. You're asking only 1 of the 2 solid samples. Is that the question?
My
Victor,
actual question is, instead
Okay,
of 2 samples, receiving 2 sets of samples a year, just 1 set of samples a year, because we participate in 11 out of 13 of the other AASHTO tests that are out there, and that would maybe encumber us too much.
Okay. So, but you're saying, because it's 1 set of solid and 1 set of liquid is what you would get once a year. So you're asking just because the set is 2 samples.
Okay,
So
so you're saying you
Go ahead.
get 1 set of the liquids and the solids once a year?
Correct.
Okay, and what if we don't do the liquids, but we just do the solids? Would that still be okay?
That would be fantastic. That would totally be
Okay.
okay. Yes.
I have one
just
other
clarifying
question.
Go for it.
You listed as chloride content. Is that the same as purity?
Yeah, so I believe it's E534, ASTM E534. We also have D632. I don't have that because there's two ASTM out there that can test chloride content. I don't recall exactly which one we have referenced on there, but it'd be one of the 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And John and Chad both had their hands up, and I think John probably has a clarifying remark.
Yep, that's correct. Thank you. So the chloride ion content, it's the rapid method. It's, well, actually they're both there. It's D632, the rapid method, and then the chemical analysis is E534. So they're both in the program. And just to clarify, so I wasn't sure when you were asking, Vicky, about testing of the samples, we do want you to test the pair. So if you're going to test both the solid samples, please test both, because that offers a reproducibility estimate for within laboratory. So just, don't sample one of the 2. If we send you samples 1 and 2, we would like you to test them both, not just 1 or not just 2. Just like
Thank you.
any of the other programs that you're already in.
That sparks another question. The 2 samples, are they 2 independent? Or are they 2 of the same? We're looking for collaboration between the 2 samples.
The samples will be nearly identical. I can't say they will be, I can't say they won't be, but they will be close enough, and they have to maintain a proximity to one another for test properties, simply because of our data analysis. If they vary too much or too greatly, then it kind of causes a little bit of an issue with the analysis. However, they will be similar, but they will not necessarily be identical every round.
Okay, and they won't necessarily be from the same source then?
More than likely, we will keep the same source at first. We would need to get effectively like a database of properties where we see what the data looks like. And if we find two suppliers that have similar properties, then it's possible for us to use that. That's kind of what we do every now and again with our liquid asphalt samples. Say, for example, like a performance grade binder of 6422. If we have two suppliers with similar specific gravities and viscosities, we could use those, but it takes us a little while to get a database of information. And obviously we would also do some testing on our end in advance to determine the proximity of the variants.
Thank you.
And I want to just throw in here too, something that I just thought of. So as far as like the liquids go, we've got lots of different categories of liquid products. So this isn't necessarily going to be always magnesium chloride based liquid deicer. There's calcium chloride, there's a mixed brine, there's additives that are all liquid. So so if any of you are thinking, well, we don't really, do much mag chloride, that's okay, because this is really narrowing down those test methods and how the test results are coming down, not necessarily what products you do use, if that makes sense. So, okay, next question, Greg.
Yeah, so Chad has his hand raised.
Yeah, this is kind of for John and maybe Jasmine. With samples this small, it might not be that big a deal, but do you see an issue with the moisture? Because you got to prepare all of them there in your lab and send them out all across the country. Is there any other testing where you've got to do moisture like this that you might see an issue?
John's got a great answer for you on this. We did talk about this.
So the one thing we will not do is we will not add or remove any moisture. We will try to do our best to just basically, for lack of a better way to say it, is air dry. I don't know how else to say it. And then we'll package the material in Ziploc bags to hopefully stop any additional moisture from getting into the samples or from them absorbing any additional moisture.
Yeah, because I think in the timing of this program, that was also a discussion, because the products go to John and Ryan, and there's certain times of the year it's very humid where they're at. And so that's part of the timeline that we have in place, is to try and reduce that effect.
And what time of the year do you expect the samples to be coming
December.
for both solid
Yes.
and liquid?
Correct.
Okay.
And also thinking, like, because this is the time that we're doing that testing anyway, for our quality assurance stuff. So these kind of just work right into what we're already doing. So it's not like, we have to get out all different equipment. We already have that stuff out and we're actively using it. So to me, that was also a convenient timeline.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
All right, that is as far as I can see, the extent of the questions within the chat box. No other hands raised. So I encourage anybody that does have a question or a comment to just go ahead and unmute and ask your question. Nathan?
Hi, this is Nathan from Ohio DOT. We did participate in the pilot run, and I had provided some feedback, and I don't know if you guys had addressed a couple of things I asked about. On the total settleable solids, we didn't know what class of deicer we were testing, so we didn't know what temperature to perform that test at.
That's good feedback.
And
Yeah,
then the other piece was on the corrosion rate. Since there's not really a standard rig for performing that, we we came up with something ourselves in the lab, but I didn't know if there was guidance that might be provided for that, for folks that, wanted to adapt something or be able to perform the test.
Like you mean like an apparatus to like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
apparatus part? Okay. Yeah, that's actually really good feedback for me on the clear road side of this, because that test is a topic on other things. So I don't know if we could provide that through here just because we don't even have apparatus information on the test method on the clear roads guidance document. But I think that's really good feedback on the clear road side that we could address separately.
Sure. Okay.
But thank you very much.
And it may have been better for that, but those are just two things I noted from participating. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Nathan, thanks for providing that feedback. We do have that documented, and as we move along, we're going to incorporate that kind of information into the instructions, especially the class for the de-icers, so that way people do have an idea of where they're at when they need to do the testing and evaluate that temperature. Something like the corrosion rate thing, that's going to be like a discussion between all of you in this group. If there's really nothing specified, as the PT provider, we can't really dictate what you need to do if there are multiple things out there. That's one of those situations where as we move along with this program, we would have to have more discussion with the group and try to somehow collect that information for all of you to make decisions with standards development.
yeah, because I can definitely see there being a lot of variability potentially in that test depending on the setup that's used.
Well, and we were also really looking forward to getting some of the like utilizing this to start accumulating data on corrosion results to use for that corrosion method, like possible improvements, updates, those types of things. So that's all very good feedback.
I've got a question from Dave Huff. Is a concise description of this program and the participant requirements available?
We have that on the Clear Roads website. Let me see if I